There is a flaming arrow shot at the church by the enemies of Christ. It's a hiss from the mouths of unbelievers that Jesus never claimed to be God. Muslims, Hindus, and even fence-sitting Christians deny that Jesus ever claimed to be God. Because if Jesus made that claim, then their claims become untenable. Likewise, if Jesus never claimed to be God, then true believers would have an equally untenable position. The world wouldn't take issue if Jesus claimed to be a healer or a teacher, prophet, or leader, because the world is okay with liking Jesus, but not bowing down to Jesus. Therefore, the question that must be answered is, did Jesus claim to be God? If he did, then you have to bow. If he didn't, then there's no need. Others, even eyewitnesses, claim that Jesus is God. In John chapter 1, verse 1, an eyewitness and disciple, John says, "In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God." The Word is Jesus, and Jesus is God. Similarly, Paul in his letter to Titus says that Jesus is our great God and Savior. Even a centurion who is not a disciple, an apostle, or a follower of Christ claimed at his crucifixion, surely he was the Son of God. But his opponents of Christ will say, that's not Jesus saying, "I am God." That's others, his followers or not. It isn't Jesus. What if I told you I could show you that his enemies testify to the fact that yes, Jesus claimed to be God? Jesus says in John 10 that he and the Father are one, and his enemies move in to kill him. Jesus asked them, "For what good work are you going to stone me?" They replied, saying, "We are not stoning you for any good work." They replied, "But for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God." When he said, "I and the Father are one," both Jesus and his enemies knew he was claiming to be God. If that's not enough, let's let the serpent crusher himself silence this hiss and extinguish the arrow. In John chapter 5, Jesus claims to be the Son of God, and the religious leaders are infuriated, so much that they want to kill him, because Jesus had called God his own Father, making himself equal with God. He tells his enemies that he is the Son of God, making himself equal to God. Then in Matthew 16, he asks Peter who he says that he is. Peter responds by saying, "The Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus says to him, "You are blessed, Simon, son of Jonah, because flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you, but my Father in heaven." So here again, he claims to be the Son of God. He says that Peter is correct for saying he is the Son of God, and then takes it all the way to say that Peter didn't figure this out. No man, no flesh revealed this to him, but God told Peter that Jesus is the Son of God. But Jesus isn't done yet, because he also calls himself the Son of Man. In Matthew 16:13, Jesus comes into the coasts of Caesarea Philippi and asks his disciples, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" He calls himself Son of Man here. But are you also noticing how much Jesus wants to know what people are claiming about him, about who he is, about who he says he is? If they say he's just a prophet, a leader, Elijah, or John the Baptist, Jesus wants to know so that Jesus can correct them. The Son of Man title isn't just a title that says Jesus is a flesh and blood man like everyone else. It also pulls from the Old Testament, specifically Daniel chapter 7, where he says, "In my vision at night, I looked, and therefore, behold me, was one like a son of man. Coming with the clouds of heaven, he approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshiped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed." The Son of Man coming on the clouds, with the authority of God, an everlasting dominion like God, the glory like God. If you think that's not enough, maybe an angel can have those things or resemble those things. Daniel also says all nations and all peoples worshiped him. You only worship God. It's the first commandment. And so the Son of Man has to be God. Jesus says he's the Son of God. Jesus says he's the Son of Man. Both are clearly titles for God only. But if either of those aren't enough, there's one more place that definitively and undoubtedly concludes this argument. Matthew 4, verse 5. "Then the devil took Jesus to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. 'If you are the Son of God,' he said, 'throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, that they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone.' Jesus answered him, 'It also is written, do not put the Lord your God to test.'" Jesus claims to be God, nothing less.